So here's the agenda for today. I'm going to do a brief introduction and talk about what the mainframe market looks like today, how it's evolved, where it's going, and or I should say where it's not going, because we don't think it's going away. Byron would then do a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation on EOS 360, the new offering that we have. He will be doing a demo, and then we're going to leave time for questions and answers. Our part of the thing of the presentation should be somewhere around 40 minutes, and we'll leave 20 minutes or so for questions. And if we need to keep longer, that would be great. We've got the right people on the phone to answer your questions. So if you look at where the mainframe is, you know, technically it's unrivaled. You know, over the last 50 years, you know, if you look at the availability, scalability, reliability, and security and performance of the mainframe, it's really unsurpassed in anything that's come after that. It's far beyond that of any distributed or cloud infrastructure. None of these come close to delivering what the mainframe does. And I think the testament to that is that about 2/3 of all corporate data today is managed by mainframes. 92% of the top 100 banks use mainframes, and 71% of all Fortune 500 companies have their core business, yeah, that's what I said, core business on their mainframes because of everything that I talked about before, the availability, scalability, reliability of the mainframe. Now, the impact of the digital business is increasing and drives consumers to conduct more transactions. The proliferation of data in the last 3 years is more than everything that's come before it. So if you just think in the last 3 years, we have more data than we've had since, if you go from the beginning of the computer age to now, in 3 years, in the last 3 years, we surpassed that. And most of those activities depend on the mainframe to do its scalability, security, deliver fast, continuous service. And the reason for that is, and that's why it's become more relevant than ever. That's why RSD continues to invest to provide innovation. It leverages a long-term investment in this platform with a cost optimization approach. We also consider that the EOS platform needs to be more integrated with the open world, driving your operations efficiently. And one of the things that we have is there's a bridge product between the mainframe and non-mainframe systems that we can talk about. Next. You know, if you look at this slide and you see more security, availability, agility, reliability, budget control, and IT effectiveness, the clients are more and more challenged within their companies to innovate, be more effective, but also, and here's a big one, is also to reduce costs. The key role at RSD is to help our clients find an answer to their daily challenges and be an integrated part of their business strategy. You know, today, more and more people are looking at cutting costs. The big thing now is to have that business strategy roll down from the top into all lines of business, so everybody's looking at the same business strategy to make your companies more profitable. In a recent Deloitte analysis, CIOs expressed 4 main priorities, and they are security and availability. And if you look at that, the things that it covers are, you know, it's manage security information risk, maintain availability and performance of IT systems, uptime and availability at 100%, not 99.9%. They want these systems to be up all the time. And then agility, IT needs to answer the business needs and offer flexible solutions to provide innovative services, assist in business innovation for end user experience, and simplifies IT infrastructure, systems from mainframe to open, cloud, and applications. They need a flexibility of service when required and redesign the current IT operating module. So the second one, the budget control and IT effectiveness, it's really, it boils down to optimizing IT costs. We all know that the mainframe seems expensive, but if you look at it, it's going to improve existing business processes, offer one more time, update features without expensive upgrades, reliability, who to trust to implement new tools, select vendors on SLA and capacity to deliver, select vendors with business understandings. At RSD, we consider these 4 priorities as key, integrating them as part of our roadmap and our vision for future development. Next one, driving. So we know the Mainframe platform. We listen to CIOs and IT management priorities. And we work with you, our customers, in regards to product evolution. We ran a survey in 2014 to identify the customer pain points on our core EOS products. As most of you know, EOS is the flagship name of our RSD offering, and it's been around, listen to this, it's been around for over 40 years, which is incredible. From this survey, we've identified a couple of key elements from the answers of the survey. And these elements are in line with the 4 top priorities we've seen from the Deloitte analysis. For security and availability, performance and improvement, improve high availability and business continuity, reduce administration, improve monitoring through dashboards, links to IT effectiveness, and finally, agility is covered with a better integration of the EOS platform with the open environment, which I spoke about earlier, and improved user interface and better access to information for end users. And because we consider this represents new major extended set of features, we've decided to launch a new offering that combines our extensive customer feedback analysis. It integrates market and end user expectations, and we've put in over 2 years of R&D efforts into do this. And if you look at the buzz around RSD, we haven't seen buzz around an offering like this in a long time. RSD has gone on some changes. We've got new leadership at the top. They've not only brought this technology, but also infused the company with an excitement that I haven't seen in a long time. I've been in this business for almost 40 years, and I can't remember the last time I was excited about an offering. And now let's look at the EOS 360, the next generation of output management solutions from RSD. And I'm going to turn this over to the sage of the company, Byron Maynard. So Byron, it's all yours.
Sage, wow, that's a high level to follow here. But thank you very much, John. I appreciate that. I think most of you have known me over the number of years that we've been together here at RSD. And as John just said, there is an excitement here that I really haven't seen in a long time. And EOS 360 brings that excitement to the table. So with that said, let's see what the EOS 360 is all about. I think all of you know about EOS version 2.1 and what the modules are within 2.1. There's the engine, which is the writers, et cetera, et cetera. There's the ISTF interface with the TSO interfaces, API support. We've got a print server included in there. We've got our TCP/IP capture tool. For those of you who don't know, that gives you the ability to bring open systems data up to the mainframe and store it in the mainframe, applying the split and indexing scenarios that you have in your organization. We have a VTAM capture tool, which allows you to capture the data right from the VTAM applications as they're running. And remember, this is in 2.1. The ESS subsystem, AFP capture, and PDF capture, AFP and PDF analyzers. Some of you have thin client already, but EOS 2.1 came with five thin client users that you could test with, and the API module, which allows you to configure the thin client to fit best in maybe your customer portals, so that they can log on into the portal and get that information directly from the EOS database on the mainframe. And last but not least, we have the EOS Spool Manager, which is a GUI interface to your spool. You know, today you go into 3270, you select your spools, you look at your reports, you look at your JCL, you look at the errors, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Spool Manager now is a GUI interface to that environment. And in addition to that, we have two other components, which is the high level of security. A couple of institutions in the Southwest have installed the high level of security. They've had about 15 terabytes of data that's now stored at rest in EOS, and it's being managed by ICSF, which is provided by IBM, but that's the security tool that's there and allows you to apply, let's say, that key so that data cannot be extracted in any way. It's encrypted, so you cannot extract it and use it. And then some of you also have our audit product, which is Activize. So what do? Well, we're going from EOS 2.1 to EOS 360, and we've broken it up into specific components, so that the modules in 2.1, the engine, the ISPF, the APIs, and the print server, is now called EOS Server. How we've improved those specific individual parts of the EOS Server, we've improved the AREP performance. You'll see a slide representing that. We've, in essence, created a VSAM database, KSDS database for AREP. As I said, we'll talk about that in a minute or so. Now, we also have a feature called the automatic spool expand. We'll go over that in one slide, which shows you the benefits now of not having to go through a 5, 6, 7-step process of unloading the spool, reloading the spool, and then getting yourself back after being out maybe 45 minutes, 2 hours, or however long it takes you to recover from those spool full situations. The second component is called EOS Process. That's now comprised of the TCP/IP capture tool, the VTAM capture tool, ESS, which is a subsystem, PDF and AFP capture, and PDF and AFP analyzers. The difference between those two things really is that the capture allows you to capture the PDF or AFP as a blob. The analyzer now allows you to split and index those two formats. So what have we done there in 360 to improve the feature functionality? The writer has now been upgraded to provide more information or logging of the information that is being captured. In addition to that, we have now added the ability to capture line mode data with the functional subsystem. It allows you to capture that data faster from JES as opposed to waiting on the data to come in or waiting to be notified by JES. We automatically now capture that data as we get it, as it's passed into the system. So there's a faster performance issue here in capturing line mode data. The next option is EOS Access, which I'll take 2 seconds here to say this is what I'm most excited about here at RSD. We've taken the thin client, which a number of our customers have today. We've rewritten it using the HTML5 format. So that's going to make it a lot easier to interface with the browsers because we're no longer reliant on the Java application that you're running. So Java versions are not really being used from the browser anymore. In the build of the new EOS Access, Java is used, but it's not used for the browser. So when you're calling and saying we're having a problem with thin client and we ask you that what version of Java are you running, well, you're going to have to upgrade this version. We know how difficult it is to do that in some instances. So we remove the reliance on Java at the browser level, but it still is part of the application. The EOS mobile applications, yeah, that's right. We're going tablets and iPads and iPhones, et cetera. So we'll be able to push that data to those types of devices and making the reports, the information more available to your business units, your end users. One of the most exciting things here is an Outlook add-in. That's right, I said it, Outlook add-in. So from your Outlook interface, you can now go directly into the EOS database, look at your report list, scroll, search, find, print, etc. through Outlook without the need of opening up another application. What we're also planning is some additions and some modifications to the EOS profile using the HTML5 concept to improve that and make it a more GUI interface and not relying on the EOS 3270 screens to add users, to make authorization changes, etc. One of the other points that we're looking at for future integration is SharePoint, providing access to the data that's now housed in EOS through a SharePoint application, which means you can take that data, put it up to SharePoint, and based upon the rules and regulations of your specific environments, people who have SharePoint access can now go look at EOS reports. The EOS Protect is here, and that's our high level of security and masking. We're now not only encrypting that data, but we're allowing you to mask Social Security numbers, credit card numbers, et cetera. That really satisfies basically 3 points of some HIPAA rules that are out there, who can access what and who can see what. Excuse me. The last part is the EOS Cockpit, and within EOS Cockpit is an improved auditing facility. For those of you who are using EOS Activizer, it's a replacement for EOS Activizer, where we're going to take the data from SMF and the report index and the authorizations that are housed in the profile data set, bring them down, ingest them. They'll now be ingested in what we call a JSON format, and it will allow you to provide data into the business intelligence software that you have and create reports on your own. So before I go to the next screen, if you have any questions, please put those questions into the Q&A section of the WebEx, and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So from a 50,000-foot view of 360, you have the EOS server, which is the core engines. You have the EOS process, all the features related to the ingestion of those reports, split, index, tox, etc. EOS Access, which is now going to give you the view through an application that's replacing thin client or through the Outlook add-in. The EOS Protect is the security and privacy of the data that's now at rest in EOS 360, and EOS Cockpit that will now provide you the monitoring facility, the reporting facility, and the ability to get back to your audit department to say, why did this individual do that? When did they do it? When did they log on, et cetera? So that's how we now enable the mainframe to perform within EOS at its maximum efficiency. Now, that's EOS 360. There are a couple of components that are 360 options. It's what John had mentioned earlier, the bridge. The bridge allows you to get data from mainframe, EOS application running on the mainframe, and brings it down to an open systems platform that's running EOS Open. So you can continue capture on the mainframe, port it over to EOS Open, access to EOS Open. That now reduces some MIP regulations that you have, and still be able to access the reports through RSD Access. And then the last point here is our connectors to EMC Centera for archival and restore processes. So, in a nutshell, it offers, it is one offer, new modules with major enhancements. So the features in 360. The performance. I mentioned earlier about the AMI, the Archive Master Index. EOS administrators have to look for reports, or if you've given that authorization to your end users, they now have to look for reports and then restore them should they need them. The performance now provides for a shorter delay in the business unit owners getting that data and getting those reports restored. It allows better continuity since now the AMI is auto-expandable. So not only is it a KSDS format, but it will be auto-expandable. So just to give you some use cases that we experienced while converting some of our customers to the new format. The first environment was a $1.3 million archive reports in the AMI. It converted to the new AMI in 1 minute. What were the improvements? You'll see the improvements here on the left. If you're doing searches on range of creation date plus the form, it was anywhere between 5 to 60 times faster than the old AMI. If you were just looking by a job name, it was 1.4 times faster. Range of date plus the form, 1.5 times faster, and the range of expiration date plus the form is 1.5 times faster. So in this particular case, 1.3 million archived reports, you can see the improvement here. And this was done for a number of, for 2 of our customers that did go to EOS 360. The second environment had 2.9 million archived reports. That converted in less than 3 minutes. Here are the use cases. Range of creation date, 10 times faster, creation date plus the form between 40 and 70 times faster, and then a purge of the master index in a simulate mode was 2 times faster. So you can see that using this new formatted AMI, you're definitely going to increase the response time to your business unit owners when they need restores. Now, one thing that we will talk about a little bit later is this is an option. You can convert to the new AMI and run EOS 360, or you can install EOS 360 and run with the old formatted AMI and then convert it at a later date. That's your option. So that's the performance option. The automatic spool expand, higher availability of EOS. We know that you have service level agreements with your customers and you have to meet those. John mentioned before, 100% availability and not 99.9. You no longer have to bring EOS down to expand the spools. Reduce downtime, reduce the risk of errors. We know, and our support team knows in a number of cases, people go into, expanding the spools. They may cross their hands or something of that sort, and they have to start all over. None of that is in place anymore. You go right ahead. The EOS example today of this specific customer for the expand spool, 500 users balanced across 3 EVTs, 3 writers, 2 FSSs, and 5 prints running, and 1 EOS spool, which gets full. What does the administrator have to do? Well, first of all, they've got to stop the EVTs, the writers, which could take anywhere from 15 minutes to whatever, based upon the users logged on and doing something. You've got to unload and reload the associated spools, which could take at a minimum 45 minutes. If you've got a lot of data in there, it's going to take a little bit longer. And then restart the EVTs and the writers and the FSS. That's 10 minutes. So that's an average about somewhere around 30 minutes which definitely has a negative impact on the business. But in essence, in this example, over 500 users and the EOS admin has, their workload has been interrupted because they have to do everything. This expand spool eliminates that. That's an automatic setting. You'll see some of the keywords that's used in that in this slide, where it's all automatic. You set it up at the installation time, and it's going to activate whenever the spool gets full. Don't forget, you'll still get the messages out of the writers saying the spool at 80%, 95%. Once it hits that maximum, then it's going to go into the automatic spool. This slide is just an example of some of the keywords that will be used to kick off that automatic spool. EOS Protect, we talked about this earlier, data encryption at rest and field masking. As I mentioned before, the field masking gives you the ability now to mask out specific areas of a report containing critical information or information that's not to be shared with anyone. For example, the last 4 digits of your social security number, the last 4 digits of your credit card number. So that's what data encryption, as I said before, combined with the ICSF products from IBM and our field masking tool will now provide the users viewability of only the data that they can see. They won't see the full credit card. What we're looking at moving forward with 360 is a secure distribution through a third-party solution, like some of the PDF, the Adobe features that you can put in PDF and put some security around that. We're also reviewing the access rights management. So as you know today, all of the authorizations, et cetera, are now within EOS. New users get assigned, you give them their authorizations, and you move forward. So what we're looking at is role-based management, combining RACF, ACF2, top secret, with the authorization profile, moving some of that work from the EOS administration side to the RACF security people who want to get their hands on it anyway. We all know that. They ask, well, why is it here? Shouldn't it be in RACF and not in EOS? So we're going to be providing that availability. That's going to also allow the restricted access to some forms and non-private lists. So those non-private lists are similar to reports that users cannot see all of the information in it. So Protect is really protecting your information. And these are the 3 key points that we're looking at. In Cockpit, we know you value the information and you monitor the activity, so we want to assist in that by providing you the tools to do that. The benefits of that is it adds visibility into the EOS activity. You can see what's going on. You can identify negative trends, people printing a lot or people asking for multiple restores of the same report. Based upon some of the information we can provide, just keep it longer online so that you can access it, or as opposed to asking for restores every 15, 20, 30 days. It also can help you identify high and peak usage of EOS, so you know what's going on in your environment, and you can report that back to your management. And the data that's now going to be created in a JSON format will now make it easier to integrate with the business intelligence tool. And a lot of that is based upon the SMF records that you have and your report index forms and your profile data sets. Access, which as I said earlier, and you see them really populating on the right-hand side of the screen, it's going to improve the access to the data that you have. The Edge browsers, the Internet Explorer browsers, the Chrome browsers, the Firefox browsers, and by the way, iOS for the Apple environments and Android for the other notepads, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to make the user experience for the user a lot easier and a lot more convenient to access the EOS environment. They can now do it through their iPads or their smartphones. secure that interface from any browser, the browsers that I mentioned here on the right. Fast access to EOS reports now from the Outlook client, and the ability to integrate EOS reports with content management of any applications. Now, what's the architecture behind this? We've really looked at it in two fashions. It's the Angular framework, which is supported by Google, and it's also supported by most, if not all, of the browsers and the mobile devices. REST web services is the way that we're now accessing a lot of the data through Access and through the Outlook client. It's APIs that are really largely adopted by the industry, and it's in compliance with the latest architecture out there today. So what I'm going to do now is just a little switch from the PowerPoint slides to a demonstration of EOS Access. This is your logon screen, but I'm just going to share my application where I have Google Chrome running, and this is running under Chrome. You click on your URL and you're brought up to the Access screen. So I'm going to enter in my username. You can see from here that you can select a number of environments if you have multiple environments. I've got my testing environment plus my technical account manager environment that I use, and I'm going to click log on. And now I'm brought directly into my user report list. So as you can see, the reports are here. If you're using RSD Thin Client, or even if you're using 3270, this is your report list. Over on the left-hand side here, we have the environments, all of the environments that you now have access to. You normally look at your public reports. Now, I can close that and really minimize that screen. It's still accessible here on the left-hand side, but if you notice, now I can gain access to those environments right from the drop-downs here, the top menus, public reports, partner reports, global user lists. As I go to my right, we have the filter option. We have a locate. We can locate specific reports. Refresh. Refresh means as the reports are being created and populated into the EOS database, and it's for this specific user, then it's going to make this list a little bit longer. The ones that are grayed out are only shown when you go into an individual report, but it's the ability to download, add a notepad, restore, print, and one of the options that we know we do not give our users is the ability to delete from this report list. The other option that we have here, if I click on settings, I can now manage easily the report list display. So for example, if I take the description, I can move the description over, and it moves it over accordingly. And I can change the size if I wish by just reducing or increasing the pixel count here. So we're going to close this down. We're going to show you some of the features of the report list. If I click on the name, I can now do a sort of that report list, either ascending or descending. I can now do a dynamic filter. Dynamic filter, and I'll do it here on the description. I'll say M***, and it says it's finished that, which means good things have happened. And you can see I've now restricted my report list to only the reports that begin with M, and I can do that with any combination, uppercase, A, B, C, D, and that would show you my report list. I also have the ability to add filters. Now I can do my drop-down filter. I've got a filter here that's set up for reports created in 2017. It now added that filter. I can now click on a report and go into that report if I want. Using this filter, I close the filter, and I look at my report list again. Now, most of you know the report list. Most of you know with this icon here, it's a TOX report. So I'm going to open up the report. It opens up here in the left right-hand window. It is a TOX report. You notice the scroll bar is no longer at the side. It's here for me where I can use it. I'll go down to the bottom of my report, and I'll pick on one user here, You notice it still goes directly to the report. If I want to go to the bottom, I go to the bottom and I'm at that report. Now if I want to make a comparison of this data with another data, another set of data from a different report, I can look at my checking report, which is a PDF. Should take just a couple of seconds to bring up. And I've got my PDF report that I can scroll through. Now, one of the advantages, again, I told you I was very excited about Access. So one of the advantages here is now I can picture that report in the same frame, one above the other. I can also change that so that the reports are right next to each other. Now, if I want to expand that screen, I expand that screen, so now I see my reports side by side. This PDF will open up any second now, and there it is. So I've got my reports side by side. Now, if I want to get to my report list, there's an icon here that says List. I click on the list, and I'm back at my report. So that's just some of the feature functionality of Access. We'll show you at least the control profile. The control area for Access and how you can set things up. This is the servers. As you saw, I logged into TAM environment, my IP address and the port. Click on Add. I can add a new one if I wish. Cancel that. I can go over here to Account Settings. Within the Account Settings, Application Settings, I can set my date, either European or US, time formats, display the list. Which list do I want to look at when I log into the environment? I can go back to my EOS Access list, and I'm back at my report list. So with that, I'm going to log back out here, and I'm going to go back to the presentation. And I'm going to go back to the presentation. There we go. So that's EOS Access. Now, we talked about before the answers to your priorities. What is 360 giving you? More security and availability. And I'm reading the slides, but I think it's all embedded in your mind what you need from 360. Improved performance, the business continuity with the automatic spool expand, a feature that you just saw. Agility, improved access through the new interfaces, the RSD Access client interface, the RSD Outlook interface, which now, as I said before, gives you direct access to those reports from Outlook. Budget and IT effectiveness, improved monitoring, and the ability now to create dashboards of exactly what's happening in your environment. The reliability. There's been a number of us here that have been here at RSD for quite a number of years, but RSD has been around 40 years, and we have a trusted relationship with our customers. So that's RSD EOS 360. We're going to open up the floor to questions. I'm going to go to the Q&A section. Hopefully you guys have asked some questions. But if you have something that you want to follow up on with us, those of you in the Midwest to the West Coast, Jim Guthrie is your account manager. On the East Coast, I'd say to the Mississippi, it's John Scagnelli. I'm your technical account manager for some of those accounts. Matt Zahn, who is playing a double role here as a support technician and a technical account manager, is also available to you. And Laura Greger, who is a new join here at RSD, will also talk to you about some of the way we can create alliances with our companies. So with that, I'm going to see what we have in our chat box. I think I can see. There we go. We have no questions there, but I do have, we have one question from Jim. He said, the question was, how do we migrate to version 2.1 from 2.1 to EOS 360? I will answer that with a slide that I have prepared for you. Moving to EOS 360 is easy as what you see here. There's no costly database migration, and the steps that you would follow in doing that installation, make sure that you have all the ETFs applied for the level of the EOS 360 that you're going to install, and EOS 360 is available on our FTP site, so you can download it. Make sure that before you stop 2.1, you've taken care of the archive request queue and the print queues. Make sure they're empty, meaning run your archive cycles. Stop your capture tools, your EVT monitors, the FSS and TCP. And if you're using ESS, make sure it's stopped also. What I like to say to everybody, save everything before you do anything. If you have any exits that you're going to move over to 360, like your user mods, scanning tables, and some people have created separator exits, they have to be recompiled. In order to have 360 recognize the level that it's at, there is a set report index that has to be run. The other key feature that I offered earlier was optionally being able to migrate the AMI into the new format or stay where you are, re-init the ARQ, re-init the printed queue, and then start your EVT and your writers with all your capture tools. So that's the easy way of moving forward. The next question is there an end of support date for 2.1? I'm going to turn that over to Martin Fleuret. Martin, can you answer that for us?
Yes, I answered this one. So usually the rule for us is that we stop supporting a version 18 months after the new release. So that brings us in the second quarter of 2018 about. And after this time, there will be an extra year of support for EOS 2.1 that we call extended support. So if you have not moved to EOS 360, there will be an offer for extended support for 1 more year.
Thank you, Martin. And I'm just reading this one. I'm going to come back to you, Martin. Can EOS Access be installed by someone without additional knowledge of web services, Windows platforms, WebSphere platforms? Can you answer that for us, please?
So EOS Access is not more complicated to install than EOS PC. So you will have a jar file or a WAR file to install on an application server like Tomcat or WebSphere. A minimum configuration to do just to set up the address of your EOS server, and more or less that's it. So it won't be more complicated than currently installing the EOS in client. Okay,
great. Thank you. I don't know if there are any other questions. Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing here to see if I can get into the Q&A. Here's a question. Go ahead, Martin.
Go ahead, Byron.
Okay, sorry. I see one question here. What training will be available for EOS 360? Will it be in a specific location or WebEx-based training?
Okay, so there will be a training for EOS Access, since this is the feature that will be changing the most. So we will prepare. There will be a document prepared to compare the feature of EOS TC and EOS Access to explain the difference that we have between the two interfaces. And of course, for EOS Access, like we have for EOS TC, there will be a possibility of on-site training or through WebEx.
Thank you. And one last question we have here from Jennifer. Are the user adjusted settings of a report saved per user, or does the user have to adjust viewing settings every logon?
No, of course you can, all the setting of the list or the fonts that you set in the EOS Access interface will be saved for your next login, so you don't have to redo it each time. And the setting also of your windows and everything is kept, users by users. Great,
great. I don't see any other questions, and we're just about on schedule here. John, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Thanks, Byron. I just, again, thank you for taking time from your day to hear about this exciting offer from RSD. If you would like further information or you'd like us to come on site, please call either Jim or myself, and we can set that up, and Byron will join us, and we'll answer all your questions. And again, thank you for joining, and I hope it was informative for you guys. Thank you.